accessible internet policies to unlock progress. Now that sounds like a doozy. And the last one is encouraging an open and competitive market environment, and that one's in the Serena Auditorium. So you're welcome to go to any 3 of those particular panels. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. A warm welcome to our next session. I'd like to ask the people sitting at the extreme back if you could kindly move towards the front so that we're a little bit closer. We're going to have a great session this afternoon. My name is Patrick Nyirishema. I'm going to be moderating this session. The session is about connecting and empowering consumers. And I'm pleased to say that this session has been sponsored by R-Switch. And in fact, one of the panelists is the CEO of R-Switch. Let me at this point invite our panelists to make their way to the stage. I'll introduce them. Let me ask them to make their way to the stage. We have Daniel Barrientos, the CEO of R-Switch. Please come onto the stage. We appreciate R-Switch that has sponsored this session. Let me also ask Abdelaziz Amir, who is the Chief Technical and Information Officer of Tigo. Let's welcome him on stage. Then we have Maurice Kagame, the CEO of Pivot Access. We have Shane Dell, who is the CEO of Property Mod. Last, but by no means least, is Arnold Boateng, who is the Executive Director of Nyameama Consult. Please come on stage. So let me, first of all, thank you for being here for this session. We live in a day and age where we are all getting used to personalized and immediate interaction with all kinds of platforms. And this session is going to be looking at some of the aspects of these kind of platforms that we experience today, particularly in the payment and delivery systems. And we'll be asking the question, what sort of platforms businesses are putting in place today to be able to have specific attention to their consumers in a very, very competitive environment. To get us started, I'm going to ask Amil to kick us off. Amil is a CTO, but he has a background in consumer.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask Amil to kick us off by sharing some of the dynamics, some of what is happening. He also happens to be a futurist, so he also shares some of his thoughts on what he sees happening in the future. He will talk about Bitcoin and some of the other very exciting things that are happening today. Amil?
Thank you very much.
The floor is yours.
I would like to start by thanking everyone around here and thanking the Rwandese for hosting us on such an amazing event, Transform Africa. I joined Rwanda 6 weeks ago as a CTIO of Tigo, and I'm amazingly impressed by what I see in front of me. I would like to thank everyone here for having the time to be with us. So I've been working in Africa for almost 12 years. I have a very strong background when it comes to customer experience and consumer understanding. And maybe that tells the message of, from Tigo to the people here that they're bringing a CTO from a customer experience background. So I will go straight to the topic we're talking about. We're talking about consumer engagement and this impact on the mobile financial services. Today we did some researches and we are definite that we need to make sure that the consumer engagement and the individualized experience going to the users on the same time. The users are asking, when it comes to mobile financial services, they are asking about secured information. Actually, the latest research is saying that 36% of the customers say the barrier for the mobile financial services is making sure that my transaction is secured. And then the ease of doing the transaction as well. So as CTO of Tigo, we're definite to make sure that the service is having the lowest customer effort for the customers. So it's like as easy as a touch to go to the service. And to do this, we are working on more agile platforms and preparing a small and easy toolkit for our commercial teams to deliver to the customers what they need. We also getting ourselves prepared to compete with the easy services that is delivered by such an Apple Pay or Samsung payment services to get us to the next level. To want to make sure that our users are able to use biometrics or near-field communications to reach to their financial wallets, whether it's on the wallet of Tigo or even if it's used to access to a wallet of a mobile banking service. The research says that 50% of the financial institutions think that mobile is a very easy engagement way for their services. And actually, we own both. We own the mobile and we own the financial services. And there is no reason why we shouldn't be increasing that level of engagement to the customers. As a Tigo, we're definite to make sure that the service goes to the right levels and hands of the customers. I want to cut it short on this part of consumer engagement and jump to the second topic that we're going to talk about, which is the Bitcoin. And amazingly, the Bitcoin is actually exponentially growing over the last 7 years, actually. For those who doesn't know, Bitcoin is a virtual currency that was created by young people over the internet. And it started 2008. It has been fought by the financial institutions between 2009 till 2011 when they get their first legitimate approach from the United States and from China. At that day, when the legitimate decree was issued, the value of the Bitcoin in the market jumped to $1,000, actually. And as you can see, this is the young people's revolution against the traditional systems, as if like what's happening with social media. So we're still having with Bitcoin a virtual revolution against the traditional financial systems, and it's going to still grow. The latest researchers say actually that many of the big corporations have started to acknowledge Bitcoin as a currency acceptable for them. The latest one was Microsoft, late 2014. And actually what's happening now that there is a big demand on the Bitcoins in terms of the consumer and in terms of the entrepreneurs as well. So the consumers are exchanging the Bitcoins every day, and it's going up to the level of, I think the price this morning was $263 for this Bitcoin, which can be used on purchasing of all the services. The other part of it that there is the entrepreneurs are using what they call mining and miners approach to secure every transaction that happens on the Bitcoin. And this is very relevant to the young people. They bring big computing powers and use this computing power to make sure that transactions are done on the right security level. And this is making them make a lot of margins. Some margins reach actually to 200% on the transaction, and it's only empowered by the crowd. So I think the Bitcoin is the revolution of the young people to the virtual life, like what's happening with everything else. And I believe we must cope and go there.
Thank you very much, Amil.
Thank you very much.
We'll get back to some of the ideas Amil has just shared. One of the very exciting ones is the Bitcoin, of course. Is it a real digital revolution, or is it just one of those that come and go? We'll get into that a little bit deeper, consumer engagement, mobile financial services. But before we go back into that, let me now invite Shane Dale. He's the CEO of Property Mod to share some thoughts. I think he has a PowerPoint presentation. And I know you want to use the microphone, so I'll pass it on. You had asked for that earlier, so. Yeah, so we'll get Shane to share some thoughts. If we can have the PowerPoint put up, please. It should come on.
That's on now. Thank you, Patrick. Ooh, I hope that's not too loud. All right. I'm sorry if this might be a little bit detailed, some of these slides, so I'll make it simple. I have a belief, and we've done some experiments in Rwanda, because it's a very interesting country. In fact, I live here, and there's some unique opportunities to test transformational ideas. If it works in Rwanda, it will probably work in other countries too. So I'm going to show you some experiments, some work we've done, and a theory that we have that there is, in fact, billions of dollars unused in every African country simply because they're not adequately managing the land asset value and the way that interacts with banks. Now that happens in the US, the UK, and all Western countries. There is a very, very good way to value a property for somebody to come, get a loan, to buy a property. Everybody knows the value of the property. But how do we do that here? Because in Australia, 67% of the property is used as a security for either a mortgage, or maybe they put a loan against to buy an education, a car, or a business loan. In Rwanda, that's 1%. So there's 66% missing that could be used, and that would be billions of dollars if we could just connect that land to Rwandan financial systems. That's Rwandan francs, Rwandan financial systems. So, when I talk about consumers, everybody's a consumer because you all need somewhere to live. Well, either you're buying a house or you are renting from someone who has bought a house or invested. Guess what? All of us would like to pay less money to purchase that house because you have a set amount per week that you can afford to pay. The difference is at 18% mortgage rate, maybe you can afford a one-bedroom house, but if that rate was the same as it is in Australia, 4%, you could buy a four-bedroom house on the same repayment. I could go into more details. I hope that makes sense to everybody here. The bottom line is the interest rates in mortgage are creating very strong problems for the economy, for business, and I see it all the time. A lot of people are trying to buy a house and they can't afford the payments because they didn't calculate what 18% ends up being. Guess what? We have a solution. The indications are extremely positive. So here's where I'll go. Buying a property is also probably the most expensive thing most people ever purchase. You don't want to be lied to. You want the truth, you want the best deal, and you want to get something. You probably want, maybe you want to raise a family, maybe you want to, live somewhere by yourself, but you need a great house. And that's what we're talking about here. That is a huge sector of the economy that's not adequately engaged. Now, I've been involved for 20 years in real estate software and property valuation systems in Australia. We're bringing that technology here, but we're adjusting it to suit the African circumstance. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's just bring those bank rates down and we can all start to do the things we want to do because you've got a wonderful country and a wonderfully stable economy and all of those good things which capitalism can bring to bear if everyone's honest, transparent, and efficient. That's digital stuff, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, so we're going to enable billions of dollars in property values. We want it to be a secure asset class, so investors come in, the government can get the correct taxation from the land sector, all of those things. Let's go through here. Believe it or not, even banks are consumers here, but the consumers are buyers, tenants, landlords, developers. Government is a consumer because you pay tax on land. Those are important things. The thing that I want you to understand, the reason why that the bank rates are so high, or one of the main reasons, is because if we give 10 loans out to these people here, and this person does not pay, and then we go to collect the money from the house and we find the house is not worth the same money that we gave them, we lose money. So these other people must pay more money to pay for that loss. That must stop. And it happens a lot. And it starts with property valuation. Okay. This is me, just to let you know some of the things we are doing. We've moved to Rwanda to make it a center for these digital projects. So that's something for another time. But the main one that we're talking about here is the realestate.co.rw and the evaluation. So I say that no capitalist system can operate. It's a capitalist system. unless you have a real estate and capital and the bank ecosystem. Everybody has to work together. And the thing that's changed, these devices have now enabled incredible efficiency and incredible honesty. That's what this must be, honest and efficient. Of course, the government is a big participant. The only reason we know you own a property is because the government says the title is yours. And you've got a very good system here. It just needs to have a little bit more engagement with the private sector to make sure that everybody's working together efficiently. The other thing that I wanted to make sense is that in your life cycle, when you study, when you get a job, you start a family, you know, you travel, you have holidays, you make an extension to your house. These are all consuming activities. And every time you do a business or a consuming activity, the government takes VAT, you know, and puts that money back into the economy to allow you to live your life. So when you pay tax, you buy civilization. All right. I've explained basically that mortgage rates at 18%, if they were 18% in Australia, we would have a recession. If you're trying to grow your economy at 18%, it's really very difficult. I see it all the time with business loans. People cannot progress because it's just too high. So how do we fix that? I say the fundamental problem is an effective way for banks to understand the true value of a property. How long does it take to sell if you don't pay? And be reliant on that information. All right. So what the digital project that we're doing is to join the real estate agents. When you buy a house, you need to buy an agent. They're e-agents. They use smartphones. The property valuers using a digital valuation system that cannot be corrupted. The Bankers Association will have a risk dashboard that allows them to look at this information. So there's no way for people to hide or make some funny business. It becomes truthful, honest, but more than that. If you have honesty, you have accuracy. If you have honesty, you have accuracy. And that's what a bank is. A bank is just putting a margin on top of the risk. In Australia, 67% of plots are financed, 1% in Rwanda. So Rwandan banks can do this in Rwandan francs with Rwandan agents, Rwandan valuers. You don't need to borrow the money. You can print your own legitimately because your economic activity is there. All right, that's it. In our model, we report to the government. This data is also good for all of these services as well. It's what we call dormant capital. If I want to buy a car, I don't have the money today, but I own a piece of land. I give that as a guarantee to the bank to say, give me the money so that I can buy a car to have a taxi business. Or I want to borrow some money to put a shed up so that my produce is now stored for longer. Or borrow money against the land to build, because every dollar I spend in building a house becomes worth $1.50 because you've improved the land value. That is the secret to economic growth. So the next part I'm going to show you is that we found a way to do that without costing any money up front for the government. How does the government unlock billions of dollars? How do the consumers enter the capitalist economy without trying to get millions and millions of dollars of startup capital? You don't need it. You have the money already here. This is the projects we've been doing in Rwanda. These are live. This is Tax Plus. This is a list of all the people who didn't pay their tax on their land. It's not fair if you pay your tax and this person does not. That's not good. And also, what we found is, do you know what we found when we hired all these people? We increased the revenues 300% in 6 months. 3 times. Would you like 3 times your wage? I think everyone would say yes. So the council can have access to this money. And it's now information that we use for the real estate agents. And now we say to them, you too must be honest. You must tell us the true price of rentals, the true price of sales. We give that information to the banks. Now the banks don't lose money. That means that your rates go down. Just take a moment to understand that. So there's so many benefits. Once that money enters the economy through digital transformation, you can get municipal bonds for your council at a low cost on the international money market. You can do evidence-based policy. Why are we charging too much money to these people and not enough money to those people? Maybe we should put a road here or there. Over here, we hire people and make sure that all the property transactions pay tax. And over here, more money in the economy means that more happens. It just keeps going, and that's basically it. Actually, I've just noticed that doesn't really fit on this screen that well. Sorry for that. So to give you an example, that's the Kichikiro Council district filing system on the left that we encountered, and this is the digital outcome of processing that. This is a list of who has not paid. It's very difficult for your economy to proceed when there are remaining paper systems or Excel spreadsheets. It must be a cloud software is my commitment. So, in conclusion, accuracy, efficiency, integrity comes from cloud software because it cannot be, well, it's reliable, from smartphones, from everybody, and just being a little bit efficient with a PPP. You know, I say that the best car in the world cannot work if the engine is missing. You know, if we put the economic engine together, then everyone who's working gets more power out of what they do. It doesn't, you know, there's so many good things in Rwanda, but I feel that it's underutilized the land resource. So that's consumer activity that can actually power the economic growth of your own country. You want to buy a house, you want to borrow some money to get a car, that activity can lift you up. That's it, and I hope that makes sense to everybody.
Thank you very much, Shane. I like how you started your presentation. You said that if it works in Rwanda, it can work in other countries. That is a Transform Africa philosophy. The whole idea is for us to get together, share ideas, and be able to create repeatable models that if they work in one country, they can easily be applied in other countries. Thank you very much for sharing those thoughts. I'd like to now invite Maurice Kagame, the CEO of Pivot Access, to share some thoughts.
Thank you, Patrick. I'll briefly talk about what Pivot Access does. And it is a software developing company, but primarily for payment systems or payment platforms. So we've grown by relating to existing systems, like what banks use or the current mobile monies. So what we've done is we've built applications like mobile banking. Currently, everyone is talking about mobile banking and the potential of what the mobile in everyone's hand can do. And the banks have taken that up. So have the telecom operators by bringing in the element of mobile money. So the other product that we have that we've given banks is a product called agency banking. Some of you have heard about it or not. Agency banking assists banks to use mobile phones to allow their clients to deposit or withdraw cash from any outlet that exists as a shop or a restaurant or a hotel. So we've given this platform to 4 banks now in Rwanda. And this has definitely assisted the banks in increasing efficiency, automatically lowering costs, and then making higher profits. In the sense that with the presence of agency banking, banks will lower their levels of interest in building branches, the brick and mortar system, which in itself is very expensive. And what we've done now is that the banks, we have assisted banks to relate with telecom operators. There's a common term called push and pull of funds, where money is moved from one bank account to the wallet, and also the vice versa, from the wallet to the bank account. It could be your own, so your wallet could be tied to your own bank account, or you could send money from your wallet to any other bank account that is not yours. And so is the reverse. You can have a bank account, and you could be able to send money from your bank account to any mobile money wallet. So with these type of applications that we've enabled the banks to have, it is evident that it serves two types of clients. One client is the business, which is B2B, business to business, or business to client. And each of them accepts or relates with this type of systems differently. But what is most common among them all is convenience of the client. The client being either a business or an individual. Each person values how much time they spend at a queue in a bank, or at any branch, or even an ATM. So with the presence of movement of money within your hand at any time of your choice, without considering when the bank is going to close, or when there's no electricity at a certain area on an ATM or on a branch, it becomes something that people cherish so much. However, questions keep on rising, considering, do you put more effort onto security of the platform, or convenience of the user-friendliness of the system that you have availed? That is left to much thought, and the key point is about to try and strike a balance where you can have both. Because the more complicated the system is at the client's point of view, then you're going to kill the product before it even achieves its exact value that you intended it to have. Now, on the element that we're discussing about here on convenience, or the impact that electronic payment has for businesses or individuals, on a larger scale, when you talk about electronic payments, then you're talking about money velocity. When you talk about money velocity, then it is how many times a unit of money changes hands from one individual to another, or from an individual to a business, which has a significant effect on GNP. And the other element is also about the government efforts on evaluating on taxes. And it's also important that businesses like ours flourish from observing such problems, provide solutions, and make a living out of them. Now, on the future point of view of where things are heading, there's one element which we shall discuss later, which is Bitcoin. The future is obviously mobile. And it's inevitable that the mobile is going to take a bigger portion of most of, especially the low-value transactions. And the high-end transaction elements will remain more or less in the traditional manner. However, it is our view that there has to be a direct collaboration between existing financial institutions and the new types of businesses that assist in movement of money from one point to the other, like the mobile monies of this world. And on that, I thank you very much, and thank you, Patrick.
Thank you very much, Maurice. Talking about linking the mobile wallet to our bank accounts, a reflection on, as we think about customer experience, thinking how to balance security and convenience, and also the future being mobile. We'll get back to this, but let me I think it's actually a very good time to invite Daniel. Daniel is the CEO of r/Switch, and they're actually spending a fair amount of time trying to figure out how to link these various platforms and make sure we can be fully interoperable between mobile operators, banking system, and so on. Without taking more time, I'll invite Daniel to share some thoughts. And I also know you have a short video to play. Over to you, Daniel.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Before starting to talk about r/Switch, let's talk about something that pretty much everyone knows here. Who likes cash? Raise your hand. Those who like cash. So there's a lot of people who like cash. Let me tell you a couple of things that are wrong about cash. I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about cash, the actual note and the coins. There's an expert in identity theories. It's called David Birch. He says that cash is really wrong because cash has no memory, cash has no conscience, and cash has no API. What do they mean? I mean, you cannot track what you do with cash, right? What happens if you lose 100,000 francs in cash? Whose problem is it? It's your problem, right? You had it in your pocket, you lost it, 100,000 francs, they're gone. What happens if you lose your phone where you have your mobile wallet? Whose problem is it? It's not your problem. It's the mobile money operator's problem. Just go there, replace your SIM card, get a new phone, and you still have your money there, right? They say that cash has no conscience. So who really benefits from cash? Who do you think really likes cash? Those people who are in the not so good businesses, in the wrongdoing businesses. Those who are smugglers, those who are doing funny things. They want by all means not to be tracked. They want by all means not to be connected to anything, right? So they do everything in cash. And they also say cash has no API, right? Some of you IT experts, you know what an API is. For those of us who are not an IT expert, an API is basically just a language to connect different platforms together, right? So they can communicate to each other. You cannot definitely connect to cash. You can connect to a core banking system. You can connect to a mobile money platform. You can connect to a store value account, but you cannot connect to cash. So if you can connect to systems, then you can build businesses around. We're talking about Bitcoin. I mean, that's basically a system with virtual money, right? You can build more businesses based on that. Maurice was talking about connecting banks and mobile money operators. I mean, that's a business that is built on the facility of connecting different systems. So in r/Switch, traditionally, we've been connecting different systems for card transactions. If you go to any ATM or if you use your card here in Rwanda, it's very likely that you're going to use some of our systems or some of our networks. But we realized that in Rwanda and in East Africa, we are leapfrogging technologies, right? In the developed world, almost everyone has a card. You just go everywhere and you have a POS, so you can pay with your card, or you have tons of ATMs widely available. In Rwanda, there's about a bit more than 2 million people who have bank accounts. there's a bit more than 2 million people who are really active on mobile money accounts. And there's about 2.3 million people who is using a microfinance institution or a SACO, a savings and credit cooperative. All these, they're not the same 2 million, they're different people, right? And all of them, over time, have realized that now they have an option to keep their money safe. But there's one problem there, and it's the fact that to move money across, you need cash. If you want to move money from the bank to a microfinance institution, you go to the bank, go to the ATM, withdraw cash, go to the MFI, deposit the cash, and then it's in your account. If you want to move money, even though there are some solutions already connecting banks and mobile money operators, it's not yet widely available. If you want to move money from the bank to the mobile money operator, you need cash, you go to the agent, then you get money into your mobile. So in R-Switch, we've been working in interoperability of cards traditionally, but as we are leapfrogging, we are now connecting all these different institutions. We're connecting banks, we're connecting mobile money operators, and we're connecting microfinance institutions and SACOs and cooperatives. And we believe that this is a major innovation, because for the first time in the world, different institutions from the financial service ecosystem that are not just the traditional banks or just the mobile money operators are getting connected. And the basic idea is that it shouldn't matter where you keep your money, right? You can have it in your SACO account, you can have it in your microfinance account, you can have it in your bank account. You should always be able to pay and transact with someone else, right? Without really using cash. So we're introducing a platform that is basically connecting all these institutions together. And I want to show you a quick video to explain how it works.
Let's have the video uploaded.
In Rwanda, 7.2 million ATM transactions, 4.6 million mobile banking operations, and 500,000 point-of-sale transactions were performed in 2014. 105 million mobile money transactions were processed. 72% of Rwandans have access to financial services, which is unprecedented. But it is not easy to transfer money from one platform to another, and most of the transactions remain heavily cash-based. Now, let's consider the possibility of a cashless society. A society where all transactions will be safely and swiftly processed without using cash. Sounds like a dream, right? Not for us. At R-Switch, we believe that a bigger ecosystem is possible. A system where no matter where you keep your money, you should be able to pay, transfer, and collect money from anyone in East Africa. That is why we are bringing a solution that will spur exponential growth in transactions towards a cashless society. Introducing Ihuriro, the facilitator of any kind of transaction for financial institutions, businesses, and individual clients. With Ihuriro, it is possible to move money between banks, mobile network operators, microfinance institutions, merchants, and customers without any of them seeing or touching cash. You will be able to shop, pay bills, schedule transactions, and manage your finances from home, office, ATM, or wherever you are with your phone or computer. Through Ihuriro, it is easy to track, clear, and settle transactions in real time. By Ihuriro, R-Switch welcomes you to a new life of infinite, faster, better, and safer transactions. R-Switch, connecting all East Africans with all their e-money.
Very good. Thank you very much, Daniel, for all the thoughts. I like Ihuriro.
I think it's a fantastic name. At this point, I'm going to invite our last speaker. I think you also do it Davos style. Arnold, please share some thoughts, and then we'll open it up to our audience. We'd like to make this as interactive as possible. So, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me bring greetings from Ghana, West Africa, and the land of Kwame Nkrumah. Ghana and Rwanda share many things in common. Both countries believe in good governance, and both our presidents are good friends, as I've learned. And I remember the first time our president gave his State of Nations address, he used an iPad, and it was news for a whole week. Because what we've known in Ghana was that the president comes there, big speeches, papers, part like a booklet, reads from them, dipping his hands in ink, and then flipping the papers over. Our President Mahama came this time around, no lantern, nothing. Then pulled an iPad from his fugu, then put it there, and then started reading. And Parliament clapped for about 5 minutes because it was something new. But as I watched him on TV, I saw him communicating a message that there's a new trend blowing on the African continent, which leaders must embrace if we are to actually move the continent forward. That's why I'm happy, and I was happy, and I want to express great appreciation to President Kagame and Phil for pushing the ICT agenda across Africa. Because we know that in the last 25 years, major corporations, even now, if you look at the first 10 brands, Apple is now more valuable than Shell. I cannot believe that ICT is doing wonders, and Africa was late in catching up, but I believe that now that we are holding the bull by the horn, we'll be able to move ahead and then achieve much for our people. This morning, on coming here, I saw a big billboard. I showed it to my friend Aziz, that by a network that today, if you are in Kigali, you can transfer money through mobile platform to Uganda, to Kenya, to Tanzania. And I asked myself, wow, Africa is actually using such a platform. Last 2 years, I was in Tanzania. I was short on cash, so I had to pull money from Ghana for my transaction. It took me nearly 48 hours to get the money from Ghana to Tanzania. And I almost lost on many things. As I've learned today, through the platform, the mobile phone, you can do so within 30 minutes or 1 hour. This is an innovation which is doing much for Africa. The 21st century consumer, as we've come to know, is no longer docile and accommodating in their taste. They are sophisticated, well-informed, and demand personalized services. They are smart, hands-on, and have global reach. Above all, they have one single device, that's a smartphone, from which they can roam the world, search for information, search for goods, compare goods prices, and from that mobile smartphone, they'll be able to place an order for goods from US to Kigali while they are sitting at the back of their house drinking water or a glass of wine. This is how far the mobile platform has become and how important it is for us to move forward. They can also organize advocacy, and we saw the Arab Spring that many people through social media and their mobile phones were able to organize agitation against what they did not want. So as we see today, the mobile phone platform has become a key tool by which, the greatest companion of many Africans, and all over the world. And I'm told that these days there are some hotels, if you go there for dinner, for a date, they will beg you to put your mobile phone somewhere because they know that once you sit down, your attention will be on the phone and not on your partner. And I came across a cartoon where two people were lying on the bed, a husband and a wife, and both were holding their phones, chatting through WhatsApp, ignoring the other, which some 10 years ago was not even thinkable. Unempowered, as we speak now, This is what we want the consumer to be. This is the consumer who has access to the phone is for whom we call the connected consumer, because he can move around the world on a smartphone. Smartphone users on the continent is now nearly 900 million, with a jump from 608 in 2014. A report by GSMA Intelligence projects that Sub-Saharan Africa will have 70% mobile penetration by the year 2020. That means that my friend Aziz and other telcos are counting their dollars and monies. But for us who are pushing for consumers, we are looking at a more powerful and connected consumer who has access to many things that 10 years ago they did not have. So I define an empowered consumer as the one who has the option to choose among a number of options and of a choice using multiple platforms of their choice, tools and resources of their choice. If these choices and freedoms are curtailed, it is truly difficult to ascertain how consumers could be empowered. For us to continuously empower consumers, it's important to ensure that these services are kept solidly strong in the ecosystem. And that brings us to a very key important aspect of what I'm about to say. That is, we need to keep the cost of data down. We need to keep the speed very high. And I'm happy that today, Network in Ghana has launched the 4G platform, which means that people can now have speedy issues on a faster rate. And the telcos too are also responding by investing heavily in their infrastructure. For the past seven years, they invested nearly $45 billion in infrastructure. And in the next decade, telcos are projected to spend $97 billion in infrastructure. All these are to ensure that the consumer is actually empowered. There's a bit cynical aspect of it. The telcos are not for the Christmas. They are doing so to get a larger share of consumers' purchases. But then, as they also make profit, we as consumers also get better services and are able to reach higher and then buy goods as we want to be. Innovation, as we've come to know, is a light guiding us in all these things. The telcos, the program, the platform are being created because consumers are demanding for something better. And this has given us a rise for programmers and engineers and the industry to also bring out innovative products that will meet the needs of consumers. So, by and large, we see consumers driving innovation and industry rising up to meet these demands. Because now that Tigo is on 4G, I can assure you, within a year, the MTN and other networks must also upgrade, lest they lose their customer base, and then they may lose their market share. That means that their share price will reduce, and their shareholders will be angry with the CEO, and people will be fired. As we see, social media, online sales shops, blogging websites, and payment platforms such as Alipay, Apple Pay, Google Wallet, and Samsung Pay, and mobile money wallets like M-Pesa are the innovative ways which are disrupting traditional financial markets. There are some people who have done deals on their mobile phones for the past 2 years. They've never stepped in a bank. Why? Because they have the mobile money systems which is helping them. And I hear when Samsung launched the Samsung Pay, within the first 27 days, over 70 million people in South Korea around the world joined the platform. Apple too now have over 70,000 merchants using the Apple Pay. All these go to tell that people's perception of money and transactions are moving away from the traditional way of cash and carry. And these are driven, honestly, by consumers demanding for better services and efficient and low-cost services. As it is now, these tools are not without their challenges. We have issues of fraud, identity theft. They are all part of the challenges that we face as we try to move on to these new platforms. But let's ask ourselves, which human innovation is without challenges? But as we've come to see, the human innovative spirit that brought out those new products it is the same spirit that will solve these challenges. And I tell you, when Google began, they said it was a bubble. They will collapse, they will go elsewhere. And now Google share is over $260 per share, which is unique, and it's been there for years now. So as you see, the mobile money platform is not a bubble. It's not something that is coming like a splash in the can. It's coming to stay, and the sooner Africa gets on it, the better. And likely, through the Smart Africa Initiative, governments are pushing in Ghana, government is pushing in Nigeria, and the West African governments are pushing across Africa to migrate consumers from the traditional way of doing things to these new platforms, which is good for the continent and good for everything. Let me briefly touch on, as I bring my conclusion, touch on the new currency on the block, that is virtual or digital currency. Of course, there are differences technically, but for the sake of this conversation, I want to see them as one. In fact, virtual currency is a new disruptor on the market now. Just like Amazon came and disrupted the book industry, Google came and disrupted the art industry. The virtual currency has come to stay, and as Aziz informed us, it began in 2008, Bitcoin per se. But going back, virtual currency began in the 1990s with e-gold and coming up to solve critical challenges. But with the dot-com bubble, people lost interest in them, people lost hope in them, until in 2008, one Satoshi did an article, beautiful article that brought people's mind to it, to the Bitcoin, which is now the emerging dominant currency on the platform. Bitcoin has emerged as a formidable and a promising of these digital currencies. It has a distributed ledger, which I think we have time to go through, which makes it so secure. There's many arguments against it, but that distributed ledger concept makes it so secure that if 5 million people are on the net owing that currency, we cannot withdraw without the other 5 million seeing that the money is being withdrawn. Our traditional banks, which are fighting against Bitcoin and these currencies, don't have that openness. So Bitcoin is not a flash, it's not a bubble, it's not a hoax, it's something that is coming to stay. And the Wall Street Journal did an article on it, I think last September, which I want to quote only one article. He says that Bitcoin is the new currency that's going to be the financial currency, global financial currency in the future, despite its growth challenges. And I'm tempted to believe that that will be the case as we move along. Currently, there are about 100,000 merchants which have come to support Bitcoin. 100,000, which includes Dell, Atomic Mall, WordPress, Expedia, and among others. And Barclays Bank this year came to the conclusion that Bitcoin is a solid currency which, when properly regulated, can help us to avoid some of the bulk cash and inconveniences that we are having in our traditional currency support. So largely, we are seeing a gradual movement from a hostile approach to Bitcoin and virtual currencies to a gradual acceptance of the currency, which I think, when properly supported, will go a long way to help consumers to be more empowered and give them ease in their transactions. What remains is for African governments to actually look at the regulatory environment, put in place the framework to govern it. We've learned the lessons in China, in Japan. Within a month, $7.5 million of Bitcoin currency were lost. Africa, if we want to embrace it, which our urge we embrace it, should learn from these mistakes and then make sure that we're able to support our people for them to move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Arnold. At this point, I want to bring the audience into this conversation. And the people who want to make comments, raise your hands. Let's get a microphone up front. If you quickly say your name and share your thought. Well, while we get the microphone here in front, okay, it's already there. Please go ahead. It's on already.
This time is okay. My name is Mugabonake Olivier. I'm the managing director of Eddy Finance. We provide IT solutions to the microfinance industry in Rwanda and in 5 other countries across Africa. My comment goes to what said Daniel Barrientos about connecting microfinance institutions into the same platform as other financial institutions, being banks or MNOs. I think this is, if we're talking about Transform Africa, we need to think about the bottom line of the pyramid. We know that in Africa, most of our population live in a rural area. They are struggling with less than $1.25 a day, which is the poverty line. So all those people who are behind are people who need to be supported, and that we need to transform. That's why it's very important to have the microfinance institutions brought on board, having in mind that special challenges are facing those people. They are in banks. They have credit cards. They have ATMs. They are already overconnected. I mean, there is a lot of things to do again, but think about people who has not bank cards. They cannot afford monthly
Please
fees.
keep it short. We would like to take as many comments as we can.
What I'm saying is, as we are talking about all this, think about how to connect all those people. That's what we did at Eddy Finance. We bought with the Switch. We are partnering to build that platform that will allow even those people in the very back end of the country to be connected to the whole payment system.
Thank you very much. Let's take, I see another hand right there. Just pass the microphone so that we can get the panelists to respond at a go.
Thank you. Mr. Boateng, I tweeted your comment about Parliament giving a rousing applause to J.D. Mahama, and people online are like, whoa. All right. But then I have had another tweet that's been making the rounds. Is the one of paying my visa on arrival at the airport in Kigali with my Visa card. The issue I want to put up to us here is first is that the progress and success of mobile payments is actually a witness of the failure of our banking systems. If banks took ordinary people serious, maybe we wouldn't be having mobile banking. And that comes back to the thinking that small money is not money. And some people are too poor to roll out services for them. So my question to the panelists, it's not just about technology, it's about thinking about the consumer and improving productivity for us. Even with the mobile payment system, you still get invitation, could you go to the nearest branch to solve a problem? So my question here is, when will we get to the point where most of our problems will be solved by the consumer desk and improve our productivity? I've given a shout out to my bank because my bank allows me to buy tickets and all of that. And immediately that bank has retweeted because it's getting a positive review. But I also have negative reviews of providers really messing up our lives. How are we working on increasing productivity and not just increasing number of users, but actually productivity for our users? Because that is key for us. I don't queue up anymore. I don't.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can we take one more and then the panelists will respond at the same time? Okay. Let me just add the third one since I don't see any hand up. What is it that we can do with Bitcoin that we cannot do with all the other financial service methods that we have today? the mobile, the card, and everything else. So let me ask maybe Daniel to respond to the first question from Mugabe about bringing on board the bottom of the pyramid. How do we bring the bottom of the pyramid into this digital financial services ecosystem?
Thank you. I think bringing the bottom of the pyramid is at the core of our eHuriro platform. We've seen a lot of initiatives of connecting banks to some of the mobile money operators. But at the end of the day, our switch is the national payment switch, right? So we're experts on clearing and settlement. Until a few days ago, it was only banks and mobile money operators, the ones who were participating on the payment system. Microfinance institutions and SACCOs were completely excluded. They were fully cash-based. And they have been growing tremendously during the last years. They have given access to financial services to people, but they were not part of the electronic payment ecosystem. So we believe that's extremely important because there is some people, especially in rural areas, who are not used to go to the bank to have their money there. They're probably new to the mobile technology, so they're more used to have their money on their microfinance account or on their SACCO account. So for us, it's important to partner, for example, with AD Finance and bring those institutions together. So in our vision, that's why we say that we want to connect all East Africans with all their electronic money. This is not just about the top of the pyramid. And this is not just about bringing those who already have an account. It's about bringing absolutely everyone into a cashless society. So very concrete. I think it's important to bring MFIs and SACCOs on board. Probably mobile will be the best technology to facilitate those transactions, but they can also have access to cards, they can also have access to ATMs, to online transactions, etc. And just to touch very briefly on this issue between mobile money operators, banks, at the end of the day, how we see it is that it needs a lot of collaboration between everyone in the ecosystem. It's not the responsibility only of the banks to bring everyone on board. It's not the responsibility of the mobile money operators to bring everyone on board. It's a collaboration that happens, and at the end of the day, everybody wins, because the more money is in the formal financial sector, the better for the economy. It doesn't matter if it's in a bank account, in a microfinance account, or in a mobile money account. As long as it's electronic money, you can do something else with that money, right? Yeah. You cannot do that with cash.
Thank you very much. I'd like now to bring back Emil into the conversation. The second question was about increasing productivity. I'd like to hear a comment on that. If you could also touch on Bitcoin. What is it we can do with Bitcoin that we cannot do with other forms of money?
I would really like to thank the lady for her question, actually, because it's very insightful. Yeah. I would really say that there are one question, the Bitcoin activities that can be done with Bitcoin and not done with others, and the question of the lady about productivity and reaching to the customer. Let me go a little bit backward. Before, the people were saying that efficiency and effectiveness were the route straight to the customer. And nowadays it's said no. The only differentiator is the experience. And the message actually from the people and the customers and consumers, like the lady with us here, is that we are the crowd. We have the power. We don't need you to give us the power. We will take it anyway. All what I need from you as a supplier is that listen to me and make sure that I have the channel to listen to what I want. Otherwise, I will revolt against you. And that's what actually happened with Bitcoin. So with the Bitcoin, the young people said, the financial systems are not really helping us. It's not working. It's moving like a dinosaur under a big heavy weight of processes, bureaucracy. Let's make sure that your insurance is there. Let's make sure that the connectivity is there. Sorry, my switch is down now. Sorry, my site that serves you is down on the next day. Apologies, sir, you need to wait on the call center for like 20 minutes for me to answer you. The people solved it. Sorry, I don't care. What's happening now is that the Bitcoin gives you the ease to move money straight from a beer to beer without any institution in the way. The inventors of the Bitcoin call it is the first decentralized financial system in the world. And they are right. Because simply, I would go there, register myself in the website, I will be a controller of the transaction. So what happened for every transaction to go, it will need a verification from 1 million to 2 million users to verify that this transaction is legitimate to be done. And this happens within seconds. So what it takes is a user gets a big computing server, he put it at home, and then he's checking. So in simple, all what you need to have your transaction done is just click a button. 5 million people across the globe will verify that your transaction is going forward, and it's done. You move to the next exchange of Bitcoin, take what you want. What you can do there and you cannot do with the real money is actually it's across the board. What was funny that China, 2009, came abroad and said it's illegal to buy any any real product with a virtual money. And then actually from 2009 to now, the virtual products are more than the real products. Mm-hmm. So the message is clear to the people, actually. And clear to the suppliers of the services. Listen to the crowd, because you either go there or they will leave you. It's very simple and easy.
Very good. Thank you very much. Before I bring the other panelists, I want to see if we have maybe another 1 or 2 questions before we wind up the session. We only have 4 minutes. Let's have a microphone here in front. This will be the final round of questions and comments.
Yes, thank you. From the standpoint of consumers, one of the things we all have to deal with is end-user license agreements. For any application, just about, if you don't accept the EULA, you can't move forward. Unfortunately, consumers are at the short end of the bargaining stick. So what's your perspective, because you all are businesses that may have applications, that your lawyers have crafted end-user license agreements, that if we as a consumer don't accept, we can't have the benefit of all these wonderful applications you're speaking about? Thank you.
Excellent question. Can we have one or final one up? Yeah, right at the far end.
Thank you. My name is Gasana Gerard Magellan, Elite Investment. My comment goes to any panelist. It's about doing business with poor people. So it's not easy. So you have to develop poor people to empower them to be the right stakeholders of any technology, any business. So it's the same for women. We talk a lot about empowering women, but we forget to say that many women are still poor, illiterate, like other and underdeveloped stakeholders. So
please move quickly because time is running out.
Yeah, so the right point is to empower poor people to be the right business partners, not beggars, not right stakeholders.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to have to ask that we respond to these as we do the final thought. I'll start with you, Maurice. End-user agreements, empowering the bottom of the pyramid. Your final thought.
Thank you, Patrick. I guess also it's a bit difficult to have take an example of a client who belongs to a bank and he has a bank account. They will need to sign a certain agreement to use these applications to create safety on both ends, be it the client himself or herself and the financial institution. So it is probably the, excuse me, my observation would be, how can we make it a little shorter than the confusing, long literature that is put forward? It is necessary. The element is just how do you simplify it, that both parties are treated equally and no one tries to be dishonest to the other. That's my comment on that. And then on the element of the bottom of the pyramid element, I think new theories, not exactly new because they already exist, mechanisms on how you measure the viability of the bottom of the pyramid people's businesses and then be able to facilitate to give loans to them. Like Ed Finance is definitely doing something about that. I think the traditional mechanisms on how money is lent to individuals cannot be applied to the bottom of the pyramid because the requirements are different. And I think there are formulas and algorithms that assist for these things to happen.
And I think that's why mobile financial services are great, because even the people at the bottom of the pyramid, they have access to mobile phones. And so it's the most efficient way to bring them into the digital financial ecosystem and make sure we think about them. Shen, 1 minute for your final thought.
I think one of the biggest advances that digital smartphones allow for the bottom of the pyramid is to enable these people who are perhaps not extremely literate, maybe they're not good at reading end user agreements, is precisely the reason that we think taking a video of somebody agreeing to a contract is much more powerful than their signature, especially for things they may not understand, such as a mortgage or a rent agreement, or perhaps buying something like that. However, the legal responsibility that that person does understand what they're agreeing to should be on the person who is conducting the business. And as long as that has a track, like a database of who did what when, then it can be enforced when there is bad behavior. And that's one of the beautiful parts of digital, that you can actually say this person agreed and this person explained to them, but this person did not tell the truth. You know, once that's out of it, I think the bottom of the pyramid can have trust and can engage in business with trust and honesty and confidence, and that's what we need.
Okay. Thank you very much. I should have mentioned that Shen is a permanent resident here in Rwanda. Actually, I'm married to a Rwandan, so he's as African as any of you here. So the ideas he was talking about referring to Australia, that used to be his home. Now his home is here in Africa. Arnold, your final thought.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me comment on the end user agreement that was asked. How many of us have it's important to protect consumers from certain exploitative practices that vendors actually impose upon consumers. But there are some difficulties that have to be addressed. The first is the enforcement of the agreement. In case there's a breach, is a government or is there an agency, consumer advocacy agency there to push for it to be addressed? A case goes to court in Ghana or anywhere in Africa. 7 years, the case is still in court, it's not resolved. The poor consumer, that person has the resources to enforce it. And there's one aspect of it which is so strange. You pick an agreement from a vendor, it's about 70 pages. And the language is so technical that even those who are enlightened find it difficult to understand. So many of us, we just click accept, 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 and off we've gone. So perhaps what needs to be done is for the vendor to simplify those language for people to understand and even to provide audio versions of it, because some of us don't even understand the English or the Arabic in which it is written. So that's my thought on that. But in conclusion, let me say that Bitcoin has come to stay, and the consumer ought to be protected. But then having connected and empowered consumers on the continent requires that data should be affordable, data should be reliable, data also should be consistent. I was coming here on a network, I signed up to roaming, I got here, roaming was not working. If I go home before coming, I call them. For 30 minutes, I was on the line. They were playing music to my ears. Music I didn't even like. Why? So these are the things that ought to be addressed. But once we address these bottlenecks, hopefully we can get our continent consumers empowered and connected, and we can ensure the prosperity that we need as a continent to move us forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arnold. I'll give Emil 1 minute for a final thought. There's a lot we can go into, but unfortunately, time is not on our side.
Thank you very much. Let me start by empowering my own customer, actually. So I received a question on Twitter from a consumer asking, is Bitcoin available in Rwanda? The answer is no. It's not available in Rwanda. Actually, Bitcoin is available everywhere. You can use it whenever you want, but actually you will not find a merchant to use it with. So, so the answer, this esteemed customer is not available yet in Rwanda, but maybe the regulatory can help us there and make it available. So that's for my customer. I'm going to go back to the question of the lady about the enforcements of the statements. And actually, the answer for it is fair competition. And there was a two clear case recently that happened. One from Spotify when they changed the terms and conditions and pushed it to the customers, and they pressed OK. One customer took it to the court and actually took it to the media, only one. And Spotify claimed a losses of 10% in 2 weeks. Facebook, actually, there was a case against them to keeping the data outside of Europe of the users, taken to the court, they win it. So think about it, you have the power. Again, the consumers nowadays, they don't want us to empower them. They have the power, and they will take it. So the message actually that I want to give to everyone here that we as a Tigo listen to our customers, and we have our channels open to hear from them. Don't wait on the call center. Come to Twitter, come to Facebook, talk to us. We'll give to you the answers, and we will give you the answers on the spot. We also listen to you. We empower you. I would like to congratulate the Rwandan people for the first 4G single SIM that was launched today by the Minister of the ICT with Tigo Rwanda. And then when it comes to consumer engagement, the message is clear for all enterprises. You either move and listen, or you're going to die. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So the final word, I'll give it to Daniel. Once again, I'd like to appreciate all2 for sponsoring this session. Daniel, 1 minute for your final thought.
Thank you very much. I think the session is called Connecting and Empowering Consumers, right? So we believe that one of the best ways of connecting and actually empowering consumers is to facilitate payments for them. When we talk about financial inclusion, it's not just about keeping your money safe. It's also being able to use that money in an efficient way. And that's what we're trying to do in all2 and in different initiatives like eJuriru. So we invite all financial institutions, anyone who's dealing with electronic money, to contact us. We're happy to connect to them. You can pass by our stand and see it in real life, how it works, and get more information about it. So thank you very much. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for our panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of this session, Connecting and Empowering Consumers. As we discussed in this session, we focus on payment systems because any kind of transaction will involve one form or another of payment. And so as we think about consumer experience, payment is a very important part of that. And we see all the innovations happening. We talked about Bitcoin, we're talking about mobile wallets and so on. So there's a lot of things happening in this space. And definitely, this is a subject we're going to keep our eyes on as we all strive to transform this continent. I'd like to finish by extending an invitation to all our international delegates. There's going to be a cultural treat this evening. It's going to be in this venue. Please do not miss it. It's going to start at 6 p.m. Tomorrow evening is a free evening. You'll be able to enjoy Kigali. And there are a lot of people who are going to help guide you into all the cool corners of this city. But for this evening, there is an event that has been organized here. It's a cultural reception. So please do not miss it. Let's see you there. For our national delegates, I think it's an invitation basis, but for the international delegates, they are all invited. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for being here for this session. Thank our panelists for all the great thoughts that were shared. Definitely, this is a debate that is going to continue. Let's give them another round of applause and thank all2 for sponsoring this session. Thank you very much.
Rwanda, 7.2 million ATM transactions, 4.6 million mobile banking operations, and 500,000 point-of-sale transactions were performed in 2014. 105 million mobile money transactions were processed. 72% of Rwandans have access to financial services, which is unprecedented. But it is not easy to transfer money from one platform to another, and most of the transactions remain heavily cash-based. Now, let's consider the possibility of a cashless society. A society where all transactions will be safely and swiftly processed without using cash. Sounds like a dream, right? Not for us. At all2, we believe that a bigger ecosystem is possible. A system where no matter where you keep your money, you should be able to pay, transfer, and collect money from anyone in East Africa. That is why we are bringing a solution that will spur exponential growth in transactions towards a cashless society. Introducing Ihuriro, the facilitator of any kind of transaction for financial institutions, businesses, and individual clients. With Ihuriro, it is possible to move money between banks, mobile network operators, microfinance institutions, merchants, and customers without any of them seeing or touching cash. You will be able to shop, pay bills, schedule transactions, and manage your finances from home, office, ATM, or wherever you are with your phone or computer. Through Ihuriro, it is easy to track, clear, and settle transactions in real time. By Ihuriro, all2 welcomes you to a new life of infinite, faster, better, and safer transactions. all2, connecting all East Africans with all their e-money.